Hey everyone, and welcome to this video about text management inside ComfyUI. In this video, I'm going to use exclusively my nodes. None of the nodes you will see here are from the original ComfyUI project. If you check my project on GitHub, you might have noticed that I have a lot of nodes. And a lot of them are for text management. And today I will show you my first universal node. It is called Line Selector. Its goal is to simplify text management and manual selection. And it is available since version 0.70. And in this video, I will show you what it can do. You can create a lot more complex workflow, of course. But here I will show you the basic structure and the basic behavior. Let's go. So let's give it something simple as text. Line 1. Let's connect it to one of my show node. If you just type a single line, like here line 1, it will behave as a basic write input node. Let's add another line, line 2. Here, with all the default values, this node will take a random line from the list. If line number is set at 0, it means take a random line. But we can also give him a specific line number we want. Let's try with 2. And here we always have line 2. It isn't random anymore. If you toggle this random button, it will ignore the value of line number and make it random again. It is useful if you want to switch between random and not random, but you want to keep the line number in memory. You don't have to memorize it, you just toggle random on and off. Let's add a third line. For now, it is taking one at random. What you can do is toggling loop. I will remove random to not confuse you too much. Now, it will behave completely differently as a loop node. It will now send a number of outputs equivalent to the number of lines. Every line will have an output. If you want, you can also make this node sequential by toggling loop sequential. In this situation, the node will use a file on your computer to remember the line number. So this way you can have a list of requests, but you can send them one by one. Every time you launch the workflow, it will go to the next line. We can reset all of that with this button. Here we will just make sure that it will start at the first line. So I launch this workflow, and I have only one output, line 1. If I relaunch the same workflow again, I have line 2, and so on. This is basically what my sequential nodes are doing. And this node is able to transform itself into a sequential node by just toggling a button. Let's connect one of my write node instead of using the integrated text. We will send it the same value. We are just going to send text to text. It is the same thing. I just have the content in another node now. Let's add line 4. So the node have changed, and I send the data differently. But loop sequential is still on. In the last workflow, we had line 2. So when we launch the workflow again, this time we have the next line, which is line 3. So with the sequential system, we didn't lose track of the current line. Like I said here, the line number isn't connected to the node itself anymore. It is on a file on your computer. There is nothing saved in the node. I will show you. Let's remove the node and make another one. Let's reconnect input and output. turn on loop and loop sequential. The last time we had line 3. And by launching it again, you see it's line 4. So you can switch between random and loop quite quickly, without even touching your workflow. If there is a line you don't want, you can comment it. With the symbol sharp, just add it at the beginning of the line. You can use that to ignore some lines you don't want as input anymore. But you can also add more information or details that you don't necessarily want to send to the input. Here I will just remove the third line. And here you can see that line 3 is ignored. Now let's create some variables. It is just going to be a write text node, and I will connect that to variables. I will make a very basic 2-color list. The syntax being color, for example, the name of the variable, followed by equal, and in between brackets, I will put blue, vertical bar, red. I use uppercase characters here, but it's not necessary. To use this variable, you need to use the name of the variable inside a tag, with the symbol less than and more than, like that. If you launch this, you can notice that the value is not picked at random from the list. By default, it is just passing along the text of the variable as is. But in the node, you can toggle pick random variable to pick a random value from inside the node. Here you can see it picked red. And here it picked blue. Let's select line 2. Here it doesn't work because the toggle loop has a priority over selection. I will turn this off. And here we have line 2 blue. If I disable pick random variable, we have the whole line back. This different type of behavior is especially useful if you want, for example, to run a loop on them. You can, for example, connect it to my loop advanced write text node. Let's just display it. And we are going to send the text to it. If we ask the line selector to pick a random variable for us, it will just send the color blue as text to the loop advanced text node, which is not what we want. What we want is to loop over all the colors, so we can toggle them off. And here we have 2 outputs, one for blue, one for red. Let's put more colors. So here it is. You can see now how it works. And because we are talking about variables, let me show you 2 new nodes to manage global variables. We are going to have a node called Save Global Variables. I will put the same variable inside. This Save Global Variable node has no output. It doesn't connect to anything. It is a standalone node, if you want. We will also add the Load Global Variable node. This one is the one that will recover the values and output them as text. Here to show you that something happened for real, I will change the values to black and white. I run this workflow, and here you can see that I have exactly the same thing by using global variables. We still have the loop for the line 2 for both colors. Now that we run this save global variable once, it isn't useful anymore. The variables saved are now global and again stored on your computer. So let's change it a little. I will put color on line 1 and 4. And of course, we have no color anymore for line 2. Let's go back to the loop. and we can remove that. So here we have the expected behavior. Even without the save node, the load node was able to recover the variable's values. But check if you ask him to pick the variable, it will every time take a color at random. Look what happens to the colors. Here you can see that for line 1, it picked white. And for line 4, it picked black. If it is not what you want to do, if you wanted to select only one color instead, what you can do is to use another advanced write text node. Let's put the rest to the side for simplicity. We will send the variables here. Disconnect that. And we will just send the new text generated as variables. Let me comment this first, so it will be easier for you to understand. Let's go step by step. So I will just recover the first line with the variable. So here, the node is going to pick a random value from the global color variable. But here, we don't want to send text to our line selector node. We want to send variables. So to respect the structure of the variable as input, we have to put the name of the variable, followed by an equal, and the value we want. Here we can do something like this. It doesn't matter here if they have the same name or not. One value comes from the global variables. And the other here is just temporary, sent as text to the line selector node. Let's enable the node. No, let me show you first, so that you understand that it's clear for you. Here you can see at the end, it is going to be a simple text, color equal white. Every time I run it, it will take a value at random. In this context, sometimes black, sometimes white. So we can enable these now. And you can see here, I have only white. For line 1 and line 4, same color. Let's put back all the lines and put color everywhere. Here you can see they are all black or all white. If I connect the load global variable node instead, I will have a mix of black and white. That's it for this video about text management. Have fun with my notes. See you in the next one.